In the late 1940s, American preservationists persuaded Congress and President Harry Truman to create a national organization to protect our country's historic sites and antiquities. This coming October, we celebrate the 75th anniversary of that organization, the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Through the decades, the National Trust has effectively harnessed the American public's abiding reverence for our country's rich multicultural history. The Trust has ably conserved and curated multiple landscapes and structures that embody America's values and complicated backstory. But the Trust's mission extends far beyond its own holdings. Since 1988, it has published an annual warning list to raise public awareness about scores of American sacred sites, natural wonders, and historic landmarks that are now, unfortunately, endangered due to rogue commercial development, engineering boondoggles, and more recently, the horrific effects of climate change. In the Trust's history of their 36-year 11 Most Endangered program, this annual attention-grabbing watchdog list has identified over 350 endangered sites. Once the Trust has fired its warning flares, the public has traditionally responded in the affirmative. Only a handful of landmarks have been desecrated. Today, May Day, the National Trust announces its 2024 roll call of America's 11 most endangered historic places. While every site on the list is noteworthy and highly deserving of permanent preservation, one emerges as jarringly symbolic of all the others: the sacred ground around Minuteman National Historical Park and Walden Pond in Walden Woods in Concord, Massachusetts. My friend and fellow historian, the late David McCullough, was once asked about the key historic regions in the United States, and he had this to say: if you could take a lens and put it down on the map of the United States in order to look at the history and the culture of America, and you could only put it down in one place, you would be hard put to find a better place than Concord, because so much is there. So much of our colonial history, of our Revolutionary War history, of the rise of the 19th century industry, and of the railroads, and of course, the immense importance to the literature of our country. What McCullough, who died in 2022, knew was that Concord's Revolutionary War sites, including the North Bridge, where the shot heard around the world was fired, thereby provoking the provincial militia to wage war against British troops, are all protected within the boundaries of the Minuteman National Historical Park. But today, that sacred landscape is threatened by a proposed 47-acre private jet hangar expansion at Hanscom Field Airport, which abuts the park. If built, the facility would rank as one of the nation's largest luxury private jet hubs. As the American people plan to celebrate the Concord shot that changed the world and the Yankee Doodle heroes of the revolution that sparked our country's founding, we have a citizen's duty to protect the solitude and integrity of Minuteman National Historical Park. Construction mayhem, traffic gridlock, environmental and climate destructive emissions, and sonic noise would replace the ethereal tranquility of Old Concord if this expansion were allowed to occur. It is sadly ironic that the water feature that inspired Thoreau's 1854 masterpiece Walden and his essay Civil Disobedience, which so influenced Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s civil rights movement, is now being harassed by a reckless aviation cabal of jet setters. Private luxury jet travel is the most destructive form of travel when measured by carbon emissions per passenger mile. How destructive? Well, a private jet can emit 7,500 tons of planet-warming emissions in 1 year. Meanwhile, the average person's annual carbon footprint is 4.7 tons, 1,600 times less than that of a private jet. Given our dire need for immediate and drastic reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, it is unconscionable to allow such an aviation monstrosity to be built within this historic area of Massachusetts. If the Hanscom Airport expansion goes forward, the negative impact will not only be felt at Minuteman Park and Walden Pond and Woods, but at the Louisa May Alcott Orchard House, where she wrote and set her beloved novel Little Women. The atmosphere around the old manse, once home to Ralph Waldo Emerson and Nathaniel Hawthorne, will be permanently altered. Luxury planes will be disrupting the airspace above the Robbins House, which recounts the undersung history of the first generation of free Concord African Americans. All told, the airport's expansion would sully the American people's visitation experience and maul over a dozen National Register and National Historic Landmark heirlooms to boot. Today is a call to action for all of us, private citizens and public officials alike, to prioritize safeguarding our irreplaceable historic sites. The dignity of our sanctified landscapes must not be maligned. Untirable vigilance and fierce engagement are needed now more than ever. By designating Minuteman Park, Walden Pond, and the area's other historic sites among America's 11 most endangered, the National Trust has fired a 21st century shot heard around the world. We must all stop this unsavory expansion. If we, the people, allow this odious jetport enlargement to forge forward, we will be sending a solemn message to future generations that our treasured historic places of today will be tomorrow's runways for the privileged few. Please join me and let your voice be heard. Go to savingplaces.org, and sign the petition to Massachusetts Governor Healy and U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg to stop this unseemly private jet expansion plan and protect these shrines of liberty as we prepare to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America's noble founding.